Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a modification to our Yucca Pac camper that has actually been asked by many customers, and we haven't undertaken the task yet because the way that our top is made is we don't want any additional intrusions into the wedge cap, which is that piece right there. Where am I pointing? That piece right there, that top. And we don't want any water access egress in there. And we've designed it in such a way that it's a one-piece top, and none of the hardware points around there are actually inside the sleeping platform. So what we want to do is we want to permanently mount some solar on the roof, wire it into the camper, and permanently wire it into our solar charger. Welcome to Blindman Outdoors. I'm Dave, and I've been exploring my whole life, from my hometown in the Blindman River Valley to the jungles of South America. 4 years ago, I left an old life behind to chase a passion full-time. Now, I build Canada's Yucca Pac camper and the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo, all while continuing to explore and experience the great outdoors. You see, I believe we're called to live free and be wild, and if you do too, then this is the place for you. All right, guys, so first things first. The easiest way to do this is to basically have all your parts, all your pieces together. So we've got our solar panel, we've got our pass-through on the dash, and what we'll do is we'll go up there with the pass-through. We're gonna mark where we want that pass-through. Then we'll bring the solar panel up there, make sure that our crossbars isn't gonna be in the way, and make sure we've got enough length on our cords on their solar panel so that if there's ever some servicing that needs to be done, you don't want to make it so that the wires go through there really tight. You want to leave a little bit of a pigtail on there so that you can pull the panel, rotate it, without having to pull your wiring. Okay, so we've got our pass-through, okay? So that's what you're going to look at. Now, these are really interesting. How these work is, what you're going to do is mount this guy to your roof without these bad boys on, right? And then if you look closely here, you can see that these are kind of slotted. And so when you tighten these up with when the cord is in there, it basically takes that rubber gasket and squeezes it around the cable, basically keeping any foreign particulate to get out. Now, there are two types of these. You can get them where they have like the solar plugs already on them, so you just plug the panel into it. This one, though, is to have the wires running directly into it. So this is like more of a permanent mount than anything else. If you want to be able to pull your solar panel on and off, I would recommend going with the plug style one, but for today's demonstration purposes and for the prototyping that we're doing today, we're going to use this guy here. You can also get these in black, and however, I would have liked this to be black. We didn't actually pick this up online. We actually went to our local RV dealer and picked this up. So you can almost find these just about everywhere. But what we want to do is we want to mark it. So I think I want to be as close to this side of the lid as I can be. Again, because my battery is not far. And as the top raises, the cable's not going to have to travel very far. So there's less chances of it getting in the way of anything like that. So let's put it right there. I also want to be mindful of my crossbar, right? And the cable on my solar panel is probably going to like start right here because they put the hardware, like the hardware box on the solar panel very close to the front here. So let's put it about there. I think that's a good spot for it. So what we want to do is we just want to mark that spot, make sure she's nice and straight, and we're just going to mark it with a Sharpie. All right, again, make sure she's right and true. Just like your old lady, you always want to make sure she's right and true. I suppose you probably want to make sure you're right and true as well. Here we go. There. So now we've got a drawing here that we're gonna use to run our wires. Now here's the trick. A lot of people are gonna think that you're gonna have to drill a big hole, right? Because you look at the bottom of that and it's really big. You don't wanna do that. You wanna drill 2 holes that are just big enough for your wires to go through. That's gonna limit any possibility of water intrusion. It's also gonna limit any possibility of wires coming in contact with each other if you do end up getting a break. Once you drill those holes, you're gonna wanna grommet them so that your wires aren't running up against metal on metal or like up against a rough surface. So drill the hole, deburr your hole, throw your grommet in, and then you're gonna install this guy, right? But now that that's there, and that's generally where we want it, we're gonna bring the solar panel up. Maybe you can see my face now. We're gonna bring the solar panel up now and see exactly where this is gonna sit. And then we're gonna grab our solar panel. So you can see here, this is the hardware box that I'm talking about. And obviously it's gonna sit very close to the edge. So we wanna make sure that this pass-through is offset from the center of these. These are generally always in the top center of your solar panel, which is why we've offset that pass-through forward a little bit and not dead center of where this is gonna sit, so that hopefully this does not hit that. Okay, and we've actually hit it dead center. So that pass through is right on that hardware box. So that spot that we picked is not going to work. This is why we double check and triple check. So then what we want to do is, I don't want to move it that way too much because then it's in my feet. I want to try and keep it as close to the edge as possible. So I'm actually going to move the pass through, this guy, over here by almost a full size. And I'm also going to keep it this way from the crossbar because I don't want the edge of the solar panel to touch the pass-through. And as long as we get a good, yeah, I think that'll work. I think that'll work. Excellent, so we'll go right here. We're going to X this. And instead, we're gonna put it right here. When you're drilling your holes anyway, you wanna keep them as far forward on your pass-through as possible so that your cables don't have to make this really sharp 90-degree turn. Blindman Overland, David speaking.
Hey, I was just on your website and then on your Instagram. I've been following you forever and always thinking about you when I want to build out my Gladiator.
Well, you just know all the right things to say, my friend. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And I always like to support Canada, so Canadian products.
I appreciate it. This must be Nate.
Hey?
This must be Nate.
No, it's Warren.
That's Warren. Okay, well, Warren, it's a busy day. We have a lot of people calling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I seen your post on the new site. Looks awesome.
Thank you.
As a web designer, I'm like, that's good.
Not bad, eh? Yeah, I thought they did a pretty good job.
Okay. Okay, and what's the leadway on if I were to buy a camper from you guys?
So right now it's actually changing by the day. We've had an explosive couple of weeks here. Right now, if you were to purchase today, you'd be probably looking at a late June install.
Okay.
That will likely change. There's 2 or 3 people behind you right now that are probably going to be purchasing as well. So every time about 4 units get purchased, it pushes us back by about a month.
Okay.
Right. So if you get in, and if you and the other fellows get in on time, you'd be looking at late June, early July.
Okay. 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 Thanks for that.
You betcha.
All right. Well, thanks for answering my questions, and yeah. I'll see how it goes, and you might hear back from me. So
okay, Warren, sounds good, man. If you ever need to give me a call, don't hesitate to call. And just so that you're aware, if you are ready to purchase, you don't actually have to call anymore or send forms. You can actually just purchase right from the website.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Cool, man.
All right. Thanks a lot.
You betcha, Warren. Thanks for the call.
All right.
Bye. I swear to God that I didn't plan that. It doesn't happen often that we actually get a call while we're filming, but it's been happening more often, to be honest. Okay, so we've moved our pass-through, just to revisit this. We've moved our pass-through over to make sure that we're not hitting the hardware of the bottom of the solar panel. We've also moved it back from the crossbar to make sure that the edge of the solar panel isn't gonna touch the edge of the pass-through. And now we wanna put our holes through the top at the furthest point to here so that we're not putting a crazy amount of angle or bend on our cables when we put them through our grommets. So now, we'll put them as close as we can together. There we go. We will have to make them a little bit bigger just to compensate for our grommets, but our grommets will fit in there just like that. And then we will butyl tape the bottom of our solar pass-through, run wires up through it and out of here before we put this on permanently. We'll put it on like that. And then again, we'll drill some more holes around it and then pop rivet it in there. Like I said, just making those holes a little bit bigger for our grommets. And we will worry about cleaning the inside later. Now I'm using a step bit for this because one, it helps to deburr as I'm drilling. And two, it lets me really dial in the size without having to constantly switch out my drill bit. So now that those are drilled and they are big enough for our grommets, I'm gonna go ahead and deburr this. But you want them to go in very, very tight as they will possibly be. So you don't want to make your hole the same size as your grommet. You want to make it just a hair smaller. So I'm choosing my holes based on some of the pit spaces that you see here. So there's actually some spots that are kind of indented on this piece that are kind of telling me where I'm going to put my pass-through. Now don't be shy when you're putting this on. It's not pretty. It won't be pretty either, so don't try to make it pretty. You can clean off any butyl tape that sneaks out from the edges after the fact. The goal is to get good adhesion around the entire perimeter of the pass-through. And people use butyl tape in the RV industry for almost everything. It's either Sikaflex or butyl tape. I do like butyl tape for stuff like this because it's not as messy, which is really nice. Okay. Now before I pull the bottom of that butyl tape off, I'm gonna hold it where I want it, right against my drawing, and I'm gonna drill out. I'm gonna mark the spots for the rivets. And I'm just gonna drill a little bit through to do that. So I'm marking the metal underneath. Okay, so now that that's done, we've got our butyl tape on there. We've got our holes drilled for our rivets. We've got our holes drilled for our wiring. Now what we want to do is take our leads and run them through our pass-through. Okay, there's our positive. We're gonna run it all the way through. And we're gonna run through our negative. And it doesn't matter what side you put them in. I'm gonna keep it as clean as I can and make it look really good, because that's what we do here. We are professionals. Okay. Now I'm not gonna tighten anything up here. I'm just gonna let it loose, leave it loose. And then I'm gonna run my cables into the area that I'm running my cables into. So now we kind of just pull the excess out until we get it where we want. Now we're using very short blind rivets. And we're doing that because I want to limit how much stuff is intruding into my bed space as possible. So we're using 1/4 inch ProTech blind rivets. I'm also applying a fair bit of downward pressure on the rivet gun when I'm setting these, because I really want all that rivet pressure to be pushed out effectively. Although, if you were to buy a Yucca Pac and have this done, or do this yourself, you're gonna get some bracketry that allows you to just put a Z bracket up here and bracket your solar panel directly to it. That's not what we're doing. Because we have extruded aluminum, and it's hollow extruded aluminum, just to make it a little lighter, I'm actually drilling right through my crossbar and installing rivets to the sides, to the short edge of my panel, and then I'm gonna bolt the panel through. All right, now we're gonna pop it up. We're gonna see how it looks, and then we'll probably jump inside and start the wiring. That's great. Now, we'll hop inside and see how the wiring's going. We're gonna need some lighting in here. Great. Come inside here. All right, guys, so as you can see there, that's where our wires are coming through, and that looks pretty good. I mean, I am not disappointed in that whatsoever. I think what we'll do is we'll probably just pull all the loose shavings out of there from when we drilled inside, and cover those rivets up with some acrylic, and that way you won't even see them. It's in a really dark corner. And then we're gonna run our line, our cable, along this edge in some conduit, and then we're gonna drill straight down into the cabinet. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So there we go. You can see the cable running all the way up for there, down through the pass-through, into the cabinet, down into our wire loom, and then out and into the solar charger. So that makes this install complete. We now have a permanently mounted solar panel, 120 watts on the roof. It's wired into the charge controller. It's bolted onto the crossbars, and I'm pretty stoked. I'm glad I found the time to do this, because now it seems a lot less complex. I think what we're gonna do is I'm going to design a pass-through plate that goes on the camper lid on this side of the lid, so that when I'm installing it, I can use small or longer rivets and have somebody hold the plate up in there and that'll catch the rivets coming through, hide it, make it look really nice, and then we can follow through the wire loom like we just did. And I think at this point we have a lot of cleaning to do. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to grab the vacuum, I'm going to clean the ever-living crap out of this thing because there's metal shavings everywhere at this point. Clean it all up, wipe everything down, give it a bit of a detail up top, because it's been a minute. And then I'll throw the mattresses back in, and this project will be done. Alright guys, so now that the solar panel and the solar charger are back and wired up, it is the next day, and I want to get out here and actually see how it's going to function and how it's going to charge. Right now I'm pulling in about 8 watts. So it fluctuates from about 7 watts to 10 watts that I'm pulling in. Now there's also not a cloud in the sky. It is 100% clear. The sun is high and bright, and we're about 10:30 in the morning, so we're not quite at high noon, so we don't have full exposure. But once we get to camp and we pop the top, we'll be able to kind of point the truck towards the sun, try to get as much of that direct sunlight as possible for as long as possible. But so far, I'm super glad that we're pulling in some watts. That tells me that we are in fact charging. It's a little lower than I had hoped, but that's okay. We'll see how we do over the weekend. So that's gonna do it for this Tinker Adventure Factory video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you want to learn more about the Yucca Pac camper, I'm going to point you guys over to www.blindmanoverland.com. That's where you can learn everything you want to know about it. If you do have any questions after checking out the website, though, I would encourage you to send me an email at dave@blindmanoverland.com. You can also send me the email directly through the website. And yeah. And last but not least, I'm going to remind you guys, as always, to live free, be wild, and we'll see you on the next one.